The opinions, viewpoints, and beliefs presented on this program do not necessarily reflect those of the management, the affiliates and broadcast partners, or the sponsors. Listener discretion is advised.
Scarefest Radio, the radio you can see.
And hello everybody, and welcome to Scarefest Television, the original broadcast date, August 6, 2021. And I am flying solo tonight. I don't have a co-host, I don't have a producer, I don't have anything except guest, and my guest, Gavin and Paula Kelly. Say hello to the folks, you two.
Hello, folks. How are we doing this evening?
Everybody, what's going on? Basically, my wife had to make a public appearance. She has to give a speech about being a cancer survivor, and so she's been fretting that all day, wringing hands. She has read her speech more than I have, and I'm a public speaker, and I've never read any of my speeches as many times. So she is prepared. She is prepared. We do have a couple of announcements tonight. Technically 3, but it involves 2 people. So I'll let that stew a minute. I guess we'll just get right on in. Oh, and by the way, everybody, I will be in Cincinnati at I should remember this shit. Okay, let's just go ahead and bring guests. I have been doing nothing but absolutely flying by the seat of my pants for the last week. I got back from Gatlinburg, the big convention there, and I have been going nonstop between farm and Scarefest stuff, you two, and it is killing me. It is absolutely killing me, but we'll make do. Anyway, so everybody know, we welcome back. They were last on the show in 2019, talking about the seminar they gave that year. They're back. No, I've not been drinking, CC. I see your little snide comment. I thought about it, though. I thought about just getting absolutely fucking wasted tonight. But I didn't do it. This year, and everybody, I don't want to mess up the name of your TV show. Paranormal Journey into the Unknown, and then, for the seminar, they are speaking about making skeptics believers, Ghostology 101. That's all backwards. I can't read now.
Well,
anyway.
What the heck happened there? You didn't tell me it was backwards.
Well, I didn't notice it till you made me read the damn thing. Anyway, the point being, and I've got it on 2 screens. Anyway, the point being, okay, making skeptics believers. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you that is a high-reaching goal. What do you? How does one go about that?
Usually, we show them our evidence, and it's kind of hard to actually do it through a seminar. But when we actually show them our evidence and us actually at the location and when it actually happens, or we actually show the live that we did at the Massac County Courthouse in Metropolis, Illinois. We were live with 37,000 viewers watching, and what we caught, they all got to see. And we actually had a couple people that were on that stream didn't believe in the paranormal whatsoever. But when they watched us, they were like, I'm a believer. But there was some, when we show our evidence, like when we were at Willow's Weep, when you see a shadow walk on through, they're like, is that real? I'm like, yeah. And all the other ones, we're not doing video magic or anything. We're actually showing what really happens while we're there.
Plus, we've also done a couple of public investigations and people that have came
Mhm.
in kind of like, oh, you have like one partner's like really a believer, and then you have the spouse or the boyfriend or whatever, or girlfriend saying, I'll go with you, but this is all, baloney. And when they get the personal experience of what they've experienced on a ghost hunt, or they hear their name getting called out, or they feel like something has braced, and then they question stuff. And so it's not just the talk about the skeptics of in kind of a lecture scenario. We also bring people into our investigations to give them the full-fledged blown experience, along with not just lecturing somebody.
Yeah, we actually had a gentleman and two older ladies who actually came to one of our events, left crying or screaming and running.
Well,
I don't know if that would make a skeptical believer or not. They ran like hell.
Okay, we don't want people crying and screaming out of the conference. No, I see. I know what you're saying, and I agree with you. But what do you do? Okay, how many have you had walk up? Now, this is one of my favorite things to say on the show. But how many times have you had people walk up and tell you, "I don't believe in ghosts, but let me tell you my ghost story," or some paraphrase thereof?
All the time when we're at an event.
Yeah.
They will walk up to our booth and say, I never believed in this stuff, but let me tell you this story. And we're just like, okay. Or they'll be like, I never believed in ghosts, but what I'm going to tell you, I don't even believe myself, and I bet you won't. I might try us.
And when we've had strange people, not necessarily strange people, but we've had people that you wouldn't think would come to us to tell us their story or their experience they had, and they tell us they don't believe it. Like, we had a Pentecostal preacher at one time came to us, and he was basically, now this all is blah blah this, but because some people get into the whole Bible thumping situations of how we do. Some people think the paranormal is working with, they don't.
It's the devil.
Yeah, and so, but yet this preacher was at a Paracon.
Yeah.
Which the Paracon happened to be in the mall, but that's beside the point. But he comes up to us. He goes, well, you know that blah, blah, blah. But, and it was interesting because I heard his whole story, and I said, what? And that's when I fed questions back to him. And I said, okay, this is the story you just told me. Okay, what is your opinion and your explanation of what you experienced?
He had no explanation.
No, he didn't. He didn't even know what to say.
He just stood there looking at us.
Because if I'm not mistaken, Pentecostals are one of the big ones on everybody's possessed. Not everybody, but and I might be wrong. If I'm wrong, tell me in the chat room. But it seems to me that they're more.
You got to ask Alan. He might know.
More Bible thumpish.
Alan Martin.
Is that a word? But yes.
Thumper?
Yeah, as far thumplish. I mean, they're all Bible thumpers. It's just how hard you thump it. I mean, I've seen the same thing. We have someone in town who is associated with a famous haunted location, and he really doesn't talk about it, and that because of that situation. So we I've seen it. One of the first cases I ever went on was a lady that was convinced her house was haunted, and she went to her church for help. And her church, her minister told her that she had demons and it was her fault.
Oh, jeez.
That was the answer.
So, not a good answer.
You do what you do. Okay, let's back up a little bit. Now, you all were rolling 2019. How you were doing now? How did COVID affect?
It actually
filming
shut down. It actually shut down our entire production company. We were scheduled to start filming season 2 of Truth or Legends in Your Hometown, which is our new show. We've already finished season 1 in November of 2019. We actually finished the full season, and it went into post. And we were actually going to go ahead and start season 2 in March. Pandemic hit in February. we were put into a total halt. We couldn't go anywhere, travel restrictions. Once it started subsiding, then we contacted the film organization, and they told us, well, you need to go take a COVID-19 media test course, in other words, pass it, get your certificate, and you can get back out there again. But we actually had clients lined up too, because in 2020, we actually opened up our production studio to actually help other vendors and studios that wanted to film TV shows, commercials, music videos. And we actually had about 12 clients lined up for us to do their project for them. And well, since the pandemic, all 12 of them went bye-bye.
By the way, I just figured out how to flip your banner around for you. Okay, now you can.
Hey, look at that. Hey, look, it says Truth or Legend right there.
I'm a computer wizard. I am. One thing, everybody, one of the problems is we're not on Skype tonight. We're on Zoom again, and you know how I hate Zoom, but Skype has become a rolling piece of trash. I'm not even going to try to use it anymore. It's become trash. So, had a couple more minutes before the commercial break. So what did you actually do during the pandemic? Did you binge watch everything, or?
Well, for me, I worked a lot in the studio, worked in changing lighting, and worked on doing some product videos, because what I do on the side is I do unboxing and reviews of products for filmmakers. Filmmakers, people that want to do documentaries and stuff like that. So I test their wireless systems or HDMI systems, GoPros, lavaliers, microphones, cameras. I mean, you name it. I go ahead and do an unboxing and give them a non-biased review, put it on YouTube. And sometimes I can possibly get it to Video Maker Magazine or other filmmaking forums. So I kept rather busy. What did you do?
I farmed.
Not you, her.
You are.
I want to see what she did. What'd you do?
Not much.
I know.
I was home for 6 months.
I was always in the studio working. Oh, and besides that.
Well, Paula, what did you watch?
She didn't watch anything.
Well,
Did you?
Well, I watched some TV, but mainly the dog. The dog became like, when I did go back to work, the dog was like, what the heck? Mom was here every single day. Now she's not. Dog got mad at us for the first 2 weeks when we got to go back to work. So,
well, day one of the pandemic, I was still working at my daytime job. We did not close. We did not do anything. We worked. The reason being because I'm the IT director for a door fabrication manufacturing company. And at that time, we were building frames and doors for makeshift hospitals, all within 5 states of us. So we had to make the frames and the doors to ship them on off to different hospitals in like Iowa, Mississippi, Missouri, Tennessee, other places in Kentucky.
Yeah, we didn't need them in Kentucky. It was they built these big field hospitals, and then it was like, oh, fucked up our field, and that was about the end of it. Everybody, we'll be right back after these commercial messages with more from Gavin and Paula.
Horror. Movie. Fans. 4. Life. On Facebook. Find us. 4 watch parties. 4 news. 4 memes. 4 friends. for life. Horror movie fans for life. Join us.
Everyone is talking about CBD oil. Most of us know that CBD is a cannabis compound that has significant medical benefits, but does not make people high. Its benefits include pain relief, anti-seizure properties, anxiety relief, fights cancer, reduces the risk of diabetes, and it is even used as a sleep aid. Blue Leaf Naturals CBD and hemp products are full-spectrum hemp extract oils. They use only hemp grown in Kentucky, supporting Kentucky farmers and businesses and helping you and your family stay healthy and well. Blue Leaf Naturals, created with care from seed to shelf. Visit their website at blueleafnaturals.com. Blue Leaf Naturals, a Kentucky proud company.
And welcome back, everybody, to Scarefest TV. And, yeah, Cece Ann's in the chat room tonight, and she's never actually heard most of the commercials, so she's commenting on all of them. Yes, that is my voiceover on most of this stuff. Quick question. Now, I'll lead into it. How do you all pick the locations you investigate?
Well, it depends on what the backstory is. And I am the historian and researcher. And sometimes
You say that like you're not really sure.
well, it's not that. It's just I find out about the stories and I'm like, is there something more than what's being said? And I've always want to go in to investigate a location. I want to find out if there's more than what's being said. And that's how we do some of our locations. And then we've got like some locations that will contact us and to investigate, or we have people that not necessarily contact us to go investigate, but there's like people like we have been at a location in Kentucky and everybody that had went to this location contacted us and says, you need to go check this location out. There is some bad things going on. There's some strange things going on. And I need you, here's the owner's information. He's never had a team go in there and investigate before. There is some strange things going on. People are actually kind of getting hurt or any of that fact. Here's the owner's name, contact them and blah, 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 blah. And we did. And he let us go in there and investigate. We investigated twice, and he did have some things in there that were brought in from customers. And it caused the place to be unsettled. And it was not a nice environment. And it was not a nice, probable.
You're talking about the place I got my ass kicked?
Yes. And it's just one of those things that sometimes it comes to us, sometimes we go to them. It depends on what it is.
Yeah, this place was treacherous. We had investigators in there that were getting 5-inch deep weld sockets thrown at them. One of the girls that was with us got hit in the middle of the back with a piston, with a 7-inch piston about that long, right in the middle of her back. While we were filming her, I had the thermal camera on her. We saw her get sucker punched. Something actually grabbed a hold of her head, pulled forward, and slammed her into a workbench. That's some crazy stuff.
That would take an angry ghost. That's a lot of juice to move that kind of stuff. I mean, it's one thing if they make the tissue blow across the floor, but when you're talking about throwing steel objects around the room,
what happened? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I've never encountered that. I've heard stories about it, but I've never encountered anything like it.
Well, what happened is we originally were called into this place, and it was just me, Paula, and our camera guy. And when we went in there, strange things happened to us. And like we found a portal, which is kind of weird how we found it. I got my face clawed. we heard a little girl singing Ring Around the Rosie, and it came up on all the radios inside the mask room. Now, these are radios that the cast people wear because they turned it into a haunted house. It used to be a slaughterhouse, and they turned it into a haunted house. So you can hear this little girl singing Ring Around the Rosie on our radio and the work radios. And at first I thought it was a baby monitor. So I went outside to go look around, and I'm like, there's no place around here that would have this, and go back inside. We're like, where are you? She goes, my room. We're like, where's your room? And she kind of gave us little hints, and we found her room. But the thing that's really crazy about this is I had a screw that was thrown at me, and we talked to the owner and said, okay, there's something here that is highly bad. We have no idea how it got here, but we need to figure out what it is. And while we were there, we came across a few things. We found a vase that had some weird ass writing on it. So I sent it to a friend of mine, and he's like, okay, that doesn't look right. And he goes, that something tells me something happened there. And we come to find out there were two girls that came from another location. They were practicing witchcraft. They were like young witches, and they conjured something, and it ended up staying there. So we wound up going back with another team that we just invited with us because they were skeptic, basically. We were there for a long time, and really nothing happened. We were in a room that I swear was Final Destination. Behind me was like chainsaws. We're talking axes and you name it, clippers. They were all behind us, hanging on the wall. And I'm just like, I don't want to stand here. But anyway, we were there, and that other team was like, oh, I think they're just full of shit. There's nothing going on. And right when they said that, 5-inch deep weld sockets started getting thrown. I mean, whatever it was got pissed off, and it started attacking the women. We had 2 investigators get sick to their stomach. I already told you one, they got her butt totally kicked by getting her head slammed into the workbench. Didn't affect the guys whatsoever. But there was a foot locker. That inside the foot locker, there was a period. What was it?
It was a skirt. It was like
a period skirt.
Yeah, it was like early 1900s.
Yeah.
It was a very old skirt, very fragile too.
Yeah. And we found 2 hex bags, which I thought was only something you would see in Supernatural. I'm a huge fan of that, and I watched that. I binged the hell out of that. But we found 2 hex bags, and
back up on that. On those hex bags, we put the millimeter.
Oh, they were going off.
They were going off to like 17.4, something like that on the hex bag.
Yeah.
And then when we put the millimeter on the foot locker, it went to 22 point something.
Yeah.
Even outside, away from everything that was electrical and everything that could possibly make a false positive, we took it outside to where there was nothing around, and we laid it back on the foot locker, and it was reading at 22 point something. And there was nothing else in the foot locker except for this old skirt that was very old period, like early 1900s.
Yeah. But we got a lot of slack on what I came up to do. I said, we're going to put everything in the foot locker, and we're going to burn that sumbitch. And we did. We burned it, and it was like the most eeriest scream we have ever heard. And it screamed for a good 20 minutes before it finally started to burn. And then it burned to nothing.
Now, of course, the follow-up question to that is, did that resolve the quote-unquote haunting?
Yes.
It did.
Yes, the customers, the patrons, the workers, everything said they felt like a complete calmness afterwards. And that there was.
Well, go ahead. I'm just offering opinion pieces here. Okay, what you just described to me is the classic, what I call internet witch.
Internet witch?
Yeah, in other words, they're not. Well, I mean, okay, are they real witches? Yes. They Google their spells and half-time dick them up to where what they conjure is not what they intended.
Yeah.
But I do agree. I mean, I've seen it with some juice. In other words, I even encountered similar situations before. Unfortunately, usually with like devil worshippers and crap. But yeah, but when they bring up that there are a lot of witches, true witches out there that would be horribly, horribly offended by what they did. But at the same time, a spell like that, is usually fairly simple to break. And I mean, it sounds like you did exactly the right thing.
Yeah. We got backlash. We took some heat on it. Trust me. A lot of people were pissed about it. They're like, "Oh, you shouldn't have done that." But see, they don't understand what happened to all those people that were working there. One girl got bit under the arm. No idea who could have bit her, but she got bit under her arm. And one was, no, this is crazy. One was sitting in one of the sets. It looked like a living room. And she said, she swore to God, something crawled over the TV and right at her. She was actually institutionalized.
Yeah, because it gave her nightmares every night after she worked there. That was the only night she worked there.
Yeah.
And she said it felt like it came out over the TV, came to her, went through her and out the other wall. And when after that, she just felt unbalanced. Mm-hmm. She felt like, according to because she won't step foot on the property. She won't even go down the road of the property.
Nope.
And after that night, she started having nightmares. She started having heart palpitations. And you got to realize this girl was 19 years old, perfectly healthy. And it just dawned at it, started itching at her and skitching at her. And she would start clawing her hands and her and her arms and stuff, to her point of her mom started looking into getting a therapist for her. And that's when they end up having to lock her and institutionalize her for about 6 weeks.
Yep.
And until they could put her, then they end up having to put her on some anxiety meds.
Yeah. Well, one of the strange things is they have a mask room. Now, remember I told you this used to be, they set it up as a haunted attraction. So I fell asleep on the table. It was about 4:00 in the morning. When I woke up, I was so disoriented. My equilibrium was off. I'm just like, whoa, what the hell? Well, I talked to a buddy of mine, and he goes, "That sounds like a vortex." I'm like, "A what?" He goes, "A vortex." I'm like, "Okay, explain vortex." He goes, "A portal." I'm like, "There's a portal in the mask room?" He goes, "Yeah." I'm like, "Oh, okay, well, I'll take your word for it." So I wound up taking 4 meters, and I kind of made a cross with a hole in the center. And we were watching the lights go all the way around in a circle pattern. It was a K2. It was the Eddy, it was a geophone, and another K2. And we're watching it light up. So once it lights up this way, it stopped. Lights up this way, stopped. Lights this way, stopped. And it did that for a circle. So I'm like, that must be the portal. So another crazy thing we did is we lit sage. And we had one of the investigators take the sage, and we were in this one room where stuff started happening again. And somehow or another, she took the sage, and we basically chased it all the way to that portal and got rid of it. So there were 2 things there. The first one was with the foot locker, and the other one's the one we got rid of in the portal.
What'd you do to close the portal?
That's the part we
couldn't figure that out.
Yeah, we can't figure it out. All I know is whatever it was, it chased towards the lights. After it got chased into that room, you could feel the environment of the room completely change, and all the lights quit.
Yeah.
Everything that was going off just quit.
Yeah. All the meters, all their lights went right out.
And it was quiet, and it was still afterwards. Like, it was the most quietest thing in the room, and it was just.
And then we went throughout the whole building again with our meters to do like a baseline. Nothing. The place was clean.
It was just weird.
So I don't know about, I mean, we put the sage on the table in the center of the devices. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure.
Well, I mean, fair enough. At least you said you're not sure. I mean, I can come up with all kinds of theories, but I wasn't there. I don't know. So anyway, everybody, we're going to take our next commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to do some announcements. We're going to do some Scarefest business. We'll be right back.
Tell me TellMeTarot.com. Rare tarot and oracle decks for the discerning enthusiast or collector. Art decks are not for everyone. If you are a rare deck collector, art collector, or simply fall in love with a deck, then we might be for you. Right now, get 10% off your first order just for subscribing to their newsletter. Shipping is just $5.99 in the United States. TellMeTarot.com.
Spirit Mechanics is here to help. Their background includes many different specialties across the metaphysical spectrum, including alchemy, shamanism, Celtic witchcraft, angelic magic, astral travel, and more.
With over 30 years combined experience in the group, you can be confident in their ability to help. If there is a question you have that you cannot answer, they will do their best to assist you.
Metaphysics can be intimidating, confusing, and unfortunately, abused. Spirit Mechanics takes pride in being selfless in the pursuit of helping others, being humble and honest with their clients about their questions, and lastly, maintaining a professional and personable atmosphere. They want you to feel as you are coming to a close friend, and they will do everything in their power to make you comfortable and safe.
And welcome back, everybody, to Scarefest TV. Yes, we do, in fact, have some announcements. We're going to start off with a little addition to our main. Actually, there's been a lot of stuff, but our little Firefly. We're calling it our Firefly reunion at this point because we've got House of a Thousand Corpses. We've got the other two. Anyway. Yes, we in fact do have Dave Sheridan, Devil's Rejects. That was one of them. Dave Sheridan is coming. Of course, I know you know him as Doofy from Scary Movie, but he was in Victor Crowley. He's done a lot of stuff. So we do have Dave Sheridan coming to the Scarefest. And our next one. Now, this is a name that is not familiar in Kentucky. She's big on the East Coast, I think New York area. But anyway, Tessa Del Zoppo, psychic medium, is coming. Now, she is coming to the Scarefest to do one of her gallery readings. Tessa will be doing a gallery reading at the Scarefest, so you can come and meet her. Best thing I can tell you is look her up on Facebook. Now, her website, I pulled it up. It's got her bio on it. And typical bio. She almost died when she was a kid. Psychics have typical bios. But anyway, she's done a lot. And she's got a bachelor's degree in education, master's degree in clinical mental health counseling. So this is not just another psychic. And, but she kept being drawn back to the paranormal world. And finally, I guess you could say she took a professional, but she actually started doing gallery readings, and before COVID, she was doing them in casinos. So now she's bringing it to the Scarefest. So those tickets will be on sale tomorrow, but I highly suggest you Google her and see what she's up to. Now, just a little reminder, our Scream Queen bowling tickets are on sale. Now, Felicia's already sold out. We got a couple more that are getting close. We've added Erin Ryder, who I thought would go ahead and take off like a rocket because she is, when we announced her, everybody was just absolutely ecstatic. But we do still have tickets on her team. We do still have tickets on Tiffany's team, Amelia Kincaid's team. Once those start selling out, then we'll add some more celebrities to the bowling. We do have some room to play, but we're keeping it tight. We don't want to oversell the celebrities that we already have booked. Axe throwing tickets are on sale. Kane Hodder, Ari Mihailoff, Robert Mutes, Rob Mello, Steve Nappy. Those are the ones we've got hooked up with that. Now, that is a little different in that you'll show up and then you'll be assigned teams. And somebody in the chat room pointed out that Tessa dates Nick Groff. So, if you're a Nick Groff fan, we've got his girlfriend. Anyway, now back to throwing axes with killers. The event's about 2 hours long. You'll have 1 solid hour, anyway, of axe throwing with a celebrity of your choice. And there's not a whole lot of conventions you're going to find with this type of, we'll call it an intimate activity with your celebrities there. So go to thescarefest.com. Tickets are on sale. Go to thescarefest.com to get your tickets, because we have like film festival. We got that coming up. Lots of entries coming in. One of my judges emailed me today and he said he watched 70 of our entries, and I felt like crap because I haven't watched that many of them. I got to get caught up. But he gave me a little review of each one of them, and but we're going to have a really good quality because all of our features were really great, just almost across the board. So we got to get that scheduled. But film festival entries are still open. Now, this weekend, I'll be at the Sacred Journey Metaphysical Market, representing the Scarefest and doing really bad tarot card readings. From the Kentucky Cincinnati Holistic Market, go to sacredjourneymarket.com because you were in our home area. Now, when I was in Tennessee, nobody came to see me. Nobody. I mean, a few people did it, but nobody had you. Now we're in your hometown, people. During the Kentucky Cincinnati Holistic Market, Sacred Journey, go to sacredjourneymarket.com. It's in the Holiday Inn and Suites Eastgate, Cincinnati, Ohio. And next weekend, Kentucky Mystical Market is back in Lexington at the Clarion Inn. That is coming up on the 14th to 15th. That's the dates of the Central Kentucky Mystical Market, right there in Lexington. And finally, just a little reminder, get them while they're hot, people. The Scarefest gift shop, if you're wanting the the souvenir Lost Year merchandise, that's what we're hauling around to the shows with us. And now this weekend, if you go to Cincinnati, we will have some of that on sale. But when it's gone, we're not reordering. These are collector items, as we like to say in the business. So there you go. We got two celebrities, one not well known in Kentucky yet, but she will be. And bugging muffs. Anyway, beautiful, beautiful lady. So buzz through those. And I do want to mention here, one of my copier. I don't have time to record the news ahead of time, so I'm going to just throw it in the middle here. Has horror movie production finally jumped the shark? Well, maybe. Weekly World News, the always trustworthy supermarket tabloid that once brought us stories about Batboy, the location of Atlantis, has begun to develop feature films. Their first project, The Zombie Wedding, tells the story of a wedding between a man and her zombie fiancé and the courageous reporters trying to cover the event. Sounds like a nail biter, doesn't it, people? So, anyway, you can find that on bloodydisgusting.com, bloody-disgusting.com. That's where that story is from. That's where we found it. So we wanted to share that with the viewers. And just wondering if the ghost of Elvis will be there to officiate. So, the production got shut down for a year. Now, did you get back in the field this year?
Yes.
Oh yeah, yeah. We've
Okay.
we picked up 3 additional projects this year. We've actually started filming one called the Abandoned Paranormal Road Trip, which takes us to abandoned TV show sets, movie sets. The recent one we went to was the town of Spectre from Big Fish. So we filmed there. And we've got a couple other places that we're going to. We also started one, Kentucky Haunts, which we've actually filmed
a little bit.
A little bit on that one.
On that, we haven't done a lot on that one because we've been busy on the other 3 projects.
Yeah.
Well, okay, go ahead.
We just revamped and brought back from the dead the Paranormal Journey into the Unknown. From 2017, we have filmed 6 brand new episodes of the Paranormal Journey into the Unknown. 6 brand new locations that we've been to.
Now, what I'm actually going to circle back to what started this entire conversation we were having. In the chat room, they wanted to know, did the reports that you get, or, I mean, do you look for the haunted places, or are they brought to you? Because they're wanting to know, did you actually observe any difference in the reports during the apocalypse?
During the apocalypse. On the locations, are you talking about like recently or before COVID?
Well, during COVID, because you were still getting reports, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, and I'm doing research all the time. If there's a little story that pops up, and I can tell sometimes because I'm also an empath. And I just feel like when I'm reading into something, I feel like there's more to what's being said. And so I start digging more into the background of the location, going, this and this doesn't really add up. But if they're having these experiences, then what is leading to those experiences that they're having? Because the backstory doesn't match the experiences that they're having. So that's one of the reasons why we might pick a location, or a location sticks out to us. We get stories all the time. We get stories of someone buys a piece of property and they move in it. Nothing really happens. And then they start doing a remodel. You know, the old story.
Or they buy something from a hand-me-down store.
Or like I said, or they do a remodel where they tear a wall down, they do paint, and they're changing stuff, and things start happening, and they can't explain the reason why. We get those stories all the time. So there was one case that I had where a lady messaged me at 11 o'clock at night in hysteria, and she was having a meltdown. She goes, my house, there's things going on in my house. Something is attacking my son, and blah, 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 this. And I was like, okay, slow down. How long have you lived in your house? And I said, we've been living in our house for 9 years. Okay. Have you had any experiences through this whole 9-year process? She says, no, it just happened in the past 6 months. I said, anything has changed in the house? How old is the house? When I get cases like that, I do like the 20 million questions. I want every little detail.
You interrogate them.
Oh, yes, I do. Because it's, you get people who has been put on. Yeah, we've had fruitcakes. I'm sorry if I have to say that.
I commiserate with you. I went to the borderline violent case. I mean, they weren't throwing pistons at people, but anyway, it was, some things that was really bothering her family, and the woman, it's attacking my family. I don't know why it would be doing this. We didn't do anything to deserve this. And then after I got into we'll call it the interrogation, because it did feel like one. It really did. Not only did she, basically, okay, she made her own Ouija board. She knitted the motherfucker. So, I mean, it was needlepoint, I think. It was like needlepoint, and made a Ouija board. And I said, okay.
I think she saw Stranger Things a few too many times.
Who knows? I don't know. But anyway, so in other words, it was, and this goes back to what I was saying about the case you had with the witches. When something is conjured or brought in, now in her case, I think she created. I think it was totally tied to her brain, through strength of will. But those are to me, those are the strongest entities, because they have a direct connection to the living. So but it wasn't throwing pistons around the room. So I just wanted to get that out there. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit more about your presentation. We got a long commercial break coming back. Well, actually, the commercial break is short, but we have Bonehead Weekly's movie review coming up right after that, with the 1966 movie, Not 1960, 1660, 1966. God, I need cue cards. We'll be right back.
Mama Ruby offers fun vendor-based events that focus primarily on the metaphysical and spiritual aspects of our lives. Well, 2020 didn't go as planned, to say the least. Since Mama Ruby's can't bring the vendors to you in person, they still encourage you to support them online. For links to these and other outstanding artists, craftspeople, vendors, and psychics, visit mamarubies.com and click shop.
Hey, Scarefest fans, this is Joe Lewis of Bonehead Weekly, and this review brings me to the end of the three-part series of Fear Street, 1666, the movie that explains the witch, why she's trying to kill everybody, Summerdale, Sunnydale, Shadyvale, whatever these two cities are called, how it's all happened. And guess what? There's a twist. It's been difficult to get through all three of these, and I've done 3 reviews. And they've gotten slightly better, but it was still a chore for me to finish 1666. And the movie is almost 2 hours long. I had complained previously that the first 2 are 1 hour and 45 minutes, but we're looking right at 5.5 hours or 5 hours of screen time to tell this story, and there's just no reason. It's too damn long. In fact, 1666, here's a spoiler alert, about 2/3 of the movie, 1666 ends, and of course we wrap it back up, which comes right back to 1994. It's 1994 part 2. So we get the origins of the witch, Sarah Fear, who's the one who supposedly has caused all these problems and has made these people get possessed and do all these murders. Once again, when we're in 1666, for the retrospect, there's a scene where we see that these murdered children have, and it's awful. It's awful. That's the one thing I give these trilogy of movies and the director. She's got cojones. She goes for the kill, and it's usually a very vicious kill. People you don't want to die are going to die. But the problem is I still don't care who dies. Put into a blender all these cliches, witches, Salem-esque, somebody who's really not a witch. And I don't want to give too much away because there is what I call a very lame twist in the middle of it of who and what. But some of you are going to enjoy this. Some of you, this is right up your alley, and I completely understand. There's a lot of blood. But the problem is once again, I don't care about anybody. And the fact that it's just convoluted as hell. And some of the things are so easy. For example, in 1994 part 2, which takes part in 1666, there's a grate under the mall. They're back in the mall again. Remember the tree in the mall and the murder that happens in the first in the mall of 1994 part 1? They go down the grate and they find once again where this bubbly creature, if you've seen the first 2, is down there controlling people, that has been risen from the ground of Satan's blah 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 blah. It's so convenient. Why would it be there? Why would it be right there under the mall? And how could they just find it in the third of the third acts right there? There's a lot of that. There's a lot of, oh, here it is, there it is. I understand horror films have a lot of those things, but I want really good writing, and this movie doesn't. What it has is the blender effect. That's what I'm going to refer to it from now on. It's, oh my God, I like a slasher. Oh my God, I like blood. Ooh, let's murder everybody. Ooh, let's have witches. And it just puts it in there. And I understand these are loosely based on the R.L. Stine Fear Street books, which were an amalgamation of all those things. I get that. I understand. I understand of a certain age, like myself, you read some of these books. But I think there's a better movie there. If nothing else, there's a more efficient movie series to be made there if we just cut down a lot of things that we just don't care about. And if you think you get confused, don't worry. There will be 15 minutes of flashbacks that'll explain everything, that so no one is lost. So it kind of talks down to you a little bit. 6066 is really only about an hour. The rest of it is 1994 Part 2. It's not a terrible movie. These aren't horrible. This isn't a horrible movie series. It's just not for me. Go ahead and check them out if all this sounds really interesting to you. If not, skip it. I can't recommend them. I can only recommend them if you're a huge fan of Fear Street or you're a huge fan of free horror movies on Netflix. Well, you're paying for Netflix. Of movies on Netflix that are horror films. They have a lot of blood in them, but it's a big commitment, and I don't think it's worth it. This has been Joe Lewis of Bonehead Weekly. This is the last time I'm talking about these films.
And welcome back, everybody, to Scarefest TV. Our guest Gavin and Paula Kelly, and I'm a little tongue-tied tonight. Anyway, okay, back to your presentation. Now, we talked about the making skeptics into believers, which I don't think the ones you flip were really that skeptical to begin with. They're just wanting an excuse to believe. But that's me. Now, but I will ask you, okay, Ghostology 101. Now, that indicates it's like a beginner's course into Ghostology. What do you teach the people?
Ghostology, basically, it teaches them the fundamentals of paranormal investigating, the do's and the don'ts. The things that we highly stress to say, like, if you want to become a ghost hunter, you want to go out and do an investigation, you need to go to the location during the day, take special notes of what the location looks like, make sure that you make a note of what's sticking out of the ground, what's sticking out of the ceiling, if there's nails sticking out of the wood and stuff like that. So that way you know where all this stuff is when it comes time for when it goes dark, you don't kill yourself. But then we also go through explaining how you do a baseline sweep when you go through the location with the 80 or the millimeter. Take notes on what the reading is throughout the whole location when you're there. And then you can go ahead and do the exact same thing when it comes time for the investigating.
And right there is the one thing I don't see ghost hunters doing. I realize you're not going to see it on TV, but by God, I want to go on Amazon and sell a beginner ghost hunter kit that consists of a flashlight and a pencil and paper. That's
right.
Yeah, that's beginner ghost hunter kit.
Well, TWC did it for the longest time. They would actually go in and do a baseline sweep, and then they kind of gather up, and then they go ahead and do the investigation. Well, actually, they interview people, then they do the investigation. But yeah, I mean, you have to do a baseline sweep so you can kind of get an idea of if there's any energy in that location. So that way, you know, when you start doing it later on, because I mean, think about it. If you don't do a baseline sweep and then you start your investigation and all of a sudden you're getting stuff off the charts, you're like, oh my God, it's highly active. It could be anything that could be setting that off, but you would have found out.
But devil's advocate here, what if when you do your baseline sweep, the ghosts are walking around with you saying, let's dick with their equipment?
That has happened.
Yeah, it has. It was
but I know what you're saying. It's easier to find the malfunctioning air conditioner when the lights are on. That's
yeah. So, you test all the panels. Sometimes the darn fluorescent ballasts, even though there's no power there, they still hold a charge, which blows my mind. Bet you didn't know that.
No, but I've never really Googled. Well, actually, I would have. It would not have surprised me because most things that are electric have some type of capacitor type. In other words, they store a certain amount of energy in them. Mm-hmm. And so I won't say that knocks my socks off. I did not know that they would, but I have to say, if the fluorescent lights were even turned off, if I was getting readings that were in the area, I would suspect, if not the ballast itself, I would suspect something making, about the light, a bad dimmer switch, anything. So yeah, I get that.
And water going through a copper pipe too.
Yes, I've seen that. Matter of fact, this is one of the things I can't prove, but I've seen enough reports of it that under certain circumstances, water running on limestone will do it. Like underground wells, cisterns, underground streams, a lot of times, and we don't know about these all the time.
Yep, springs.
But I've seen enough reports of it to be convinced that that's one of those things you have to look for. Now, then you can get into the whole argument about whether or not it enhances paranormal activity. In your observations as ghost hunters, have you found any environmental factors that kind of tie things together, since we're on that topic? Close up the show. In other words, is there anything that you've noticed that actually seems to enhance, or maybe enhance is the wrong word, to reveal paranormal activity?
Well, I've noticed, like, anybody, like, in locations that we've been to, if there is limestone, I mean, we have to take it, 50-50 on it. Is it something that limestone is taking our equipment and making a negative positive? Or are we actually getting something because of the limestone? Because we have been to locations where we have gotten a little bit more strange, unusual occurrences that we cannot explain versus a standard location that you wouldn't think would have a lot and end up having a few things on top of it. But I have noticed that we have been to locations that is a limestone basement and activity be going on in the house, unexplained type situations. We've been to, I'm trying to remember.
Don't forget the ley lines.
Oh, yeah, the ley lines. Yes.
Ley lines and limestone, key factor right there.
I believe ley lines, but I don't know. I've never Googled it. Where does one acquire a reliable map of ley lines?
It's actually, if you go through don't look at it as a big picture. Look at it as in the area that you are in. So, because if you actually look up a county, just say not a state, but a county, like for instance, the county that you live in. And if you actually look up you can actually look up ley lines for your county. We did that for a location in Indiana. Where were we at?
Hartford City.
And I happened to notice the 3 locations that are very popular that is haunted in Hartford City, Indiana. I was looking at it going, why is this location here, this location here, and this location here? And supposedly this other location that's down the road away from these 3 locations line up in a particular line. I said, there is something strange about all these locations being in almost a perfect line. So I looked up and said, you know what? That's almost like a line, like a ley line. And I end up looking at the ley lines for that county, for that town. There is a way you can look it up. It's a lot of research to find out to do that.
How you word it.
Yeah, and because you got to be like really iffy on how you word stuff on the internet. And it takes a lot of research. You have to go through a lot of maps to make it figure out what a ley line would be. And there is actually a ley line that connects all 4 of these locations in Hartford City. And it runs right smack dab into the middle of the Monroe House,
Hartford City Jail,
the Speakeasy. And there's it's a residence right now, but I was told by several people in that town that it used to be a doctor's office back in the day.
Across the street from the Monroe House?
And no, this is perpendicular behind the Speakeasy.
Oh.
And they have said that of course, it's a private residence. Nobody wants you to go in there and investigate it, because I've had several people said they've tried to go talk to the owners who says, oh, no, our place, yeah, there is stories, but we don't believe in all this type of stuff. And that gets in the whole skepticism things. But a lot of people that has had previous owners and stuff people had said seen things in windows and stuff like that. So we kind of add that to the other 3, but it has never actually been proven or investigated. But that storytelling of that location does line up with all the ley line that runs from Max Dab into the other 3. So is there something in common with all this? Who knows? But that is a study that is still being worked on, and that's kind of interesting because that's how I looked at it too. As in, why would all this be connected?
I'll have to get you to show me how to Google aliens. I guarantee you, if I type that in right now, porn. Anyway, everybody, this has been Scarefest TV. We've been talking to Gavin and Paula Kelly. They will be at the Scarefest. And if they want to keep up with you in the meantime, go ahead and plug the best ways to find out what you're up to in the meantime.
Well, you can find us on www.phantasmicghosthunters.com, and that's with a P, not an F.
Yes.
Yeah. Or you can also read about us on intheshadowsentertainmentgroup.com. All you have to do is just search Gavin Kelly PGH, and you'll find me all over the web. Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. I got all those things. She only has Facebook. She can only keep up with one.
Excuse me. Yeah. I have Instagram. I have Facebook. I have TikTok.
Oh, yeah, we have TikTok.
When we go to the locations, I do a little TikTok video.
Yeah.
About the location that we're at. But yeah, I have recently been introduced myself to TikTok 3 months ago. And he's like, oh, God, I've created a nightmare. But TikTok's fun.
Has she twerked yet, Gavin? Everybody else on
no, I don't twerk.
Oh, you mean that? Yeah, no.
The butt thing. Anyway, everybody.
Oh, no.
Okay, before I digress anymore, everybody, we'll see you next week on Scarefest TV.